Dude, they don't give a fuck, man.
Illegal street racing. I can barely describe the emotions these words invoke in me. Seeing videos like the one playing right now always manages to bring a smile on my face. There's something about everything that cultivates this feeling in me. It's the speed, the sound, the cars, the culture, and the community that always brings me in. The passion it takes me to make this video is immeasurable. But before I can try to explain and dissect what these 5 aspects mean to me, we gotta go back to last year. I was never really into cars. I mean, sure, I like seeing the AE86 Trueno, but it was nothing compared to what it's like now. Maybe it's the fact that the car that drew me in was in a love song and I was low-key understanding love at the time. All I know is that when I saw it for the first time, I couldn't keep my mind off it. The second gen 3 series, aka the BMW E30. This car was the thing that made me dip my toe in a car culture. It helped me learn so much more about this world that I had never even noticed before. While the car's performance isn't crazy, it still managed to find a way in my heart. For now though, let's move on to the main topics of the video. Starting off with, speed can best be described with the word exhilarating. There's nothing better than seeing someone fly by someone, especially when it catches you off guard. It's the reason why people love roller coasters. Feeling speed can also be a secondhand experience, as our minds are smart enough to stimulate that type of rush in us even if we're only seeing it from a distance. Look at this video right here. Watch how quickly it shifts from slow to fast. The change is so surprising you're left at awe just looking at it. Even if this video is nerve-wracking for you, you can't tell me it's not thrilling. Sound is a concept that I only really started to understand pretty recently. The sound of a car can vary depending on different variables. The main 3 that you can depend on is exhaust, engine, and modifications. The exhaust system is what filters the sound, allowing it to flow in various ways to alter what the muffler is going to sound like. You want your car to sound quiet, get a straight and slim exhaust tip. You want your car to sound loud and beefy like a gunshot, get a wider tip. The engine also has a play in this. While it's hard to distinguish at first, you can start noticing the difference between a V8 and a rotary engine if you pay close attention. Usually V8s are deeper and can be pretty much replicated if you roll your R's with a deep voice. A rotary is a little harder than that. It's a faster sound and is also higher in pitch than a V8. I still have trouble labeling engines based off sound, so it's okay if you don't get it yet. My favorite one to hear though is a modification, mainly the difference between turbos and superchargers. Turbos can be heard with this distinct flutter sound, like a mini turbine engine being charged up. Superchargers have this aggressive whining sound attributed with it. Personally, I like turbos more, but it all depends on the person's interest and what sounds best for the car. Everything I mentioned now probably has to do with activating some sort of fight or flight in our brain, just because of the shock and adrenaline a loud car can give you. Speaking of, reading this whole script, I almost forgot mentioning about. I think the best part of a car is how it impresses you. Something you can't get from watching a Lambo go fast is a low expectation. You know it's gonna be fast when you see one. When you see something as small as a Miata handle as well as it can though, that's when you're impressed. You can see me driving a stock one in Gran Turismo right now. Fully factory built, no modifications, zero traction control, and it's zooming past cars in its category. From the way it takes corners, you can tell this car is way too fucking good at getting away with things. Sometimes I'll barely clutch through a turn, and after I pass it, I'm just left wondering how the fuck this thing made it through without spinning out or crashing. It doesn't just go for Miatas. I'm also really impressed by sleepers like the BMW i3 or even the Honda Beat. Some of these cars don't even require you to slow down once. The i3 can do a whole lap around this very highway without braking at all. After you put one of these in at least fourth gear, you're in for a trip. A lot of people's builds come from cars like this, and that's what makes them so unique. Look at how cute this Miata is. Someone tuned it enough to keep up with a 600 horsepower Corvette. I love seeing things like this and how people can flip what a car means. Some of the first people to start taking advantage of cars and tuning them are rooted deep in a car culture, which is what I'm moving on to next. Car culture depends on where you're from. If you live in America, it's kind of a stereotype to be familiar with American muscle. If you live in Japan, you're probably familiar with the JDM scene. I don't live in either of these, but the one that calls my attention the most is the JDM scene. If you're familiar enough with the JDM scene, you've also probably heard of the Midnight Club. This is a group of people whose main goal was to have the fastest sports cars in the world at the time. Mind you, this was the 90s, but they were already ranking speeds close to 200 miles per hour on public roads. Drivetribe makes a great video on the club, which I'll link in the description. Where I live though, you'll see something way more diverse in the car atmosphere. Cars from all over the world are imported here. What I'm speaking of is Puerto Rican car culture. Puerto Rico is home to everything. We love to hub a varied meat. Everyone here seems to appreciate cars, even the cops. While you still have to abide by the rules, it's way more relaxed than other places in the world. It's really open for the community, something that I haven't even touched on yet. The car community, in my opinion, can be extremely welcoming. From living in Puerto Rico my whole life, I've really had no problem around cars. People don't judge when they see a unique car. Everyone's appreciative of their build. I've heard that places in the States aren't really like this and can be really rough for someone starting out in the community. Personally, I've had nothing but a good experience since joining. I don't even have a license yet, and I'm already being welcomed by friends and family. Also try to do the same with those of my friends who aren't really into cars. In fact, I convinced some of them to get Gran Turismo, and a small amount of them still play with me. Shout out to Wilfie and Emiliano, by the way. The video playing right now is actually me playing with them. By the way, if you guys want to see me make a video on my impressions of GT, let me know in the comments. I have a lot to talk about, and this is coming from an outsider's perspective. For now though, I'll leave you with this. Whether you're into tuners, muscle, lowriders, drifter, classics, or even exotics, the car community is there to welcome you. This video also doesn't mean I condone illegal racing, and I understand how people risk lives every day just by driving this way. With all the precautions taken in mind though, you'd be lying if you said it wasn't fun.
Like the 12, looking up to me, talking down. See, I am the